My dad took my $53,000 college fund for his gambling, but when I took him to court, the truth I exposed turned his sacrifice into his downfall. I stare at my laptop screen, blinking repeatedly as if the numbers might magically rearrange themselves. They don't. The balance that should read $53,000, my entire college fund, my safety net, my future, glares back at me with a mocking $0. My heartbeat drums in my ears. A cold sweat breaks across my forehead as my fingers hover above the keyboard, wondering if this is some kind of technical glitch. I refresh the page. The 0 remains. No, I whisper to my empty Boston apartment. No. The UTMA account my grandparents established when I was born, the one my father Gregory has managed since I was a child, the one that was supposed to carry me through my final year of architecture school at Boston University, is empty. My hands tremble as I grab my phone from the coffee table. Outside my window, spring sunshine bathes the city in golden light that suddenly feels like a cruel joke. I punch in the familiar Columbus area code, my father's number memorized since childhood. 1 ring, 2 rings. Melanie! His voice booms through the speaker with its usual confidence. How's my college girl? I swallow hard, struggling to push words past the knot in my throat. Dad, I'm looking at my UTMA account. It's empty. A pause. Just long enough to confirm this isn't news to him. Oh, that. His tone shifts not to guilt or remorse, but to something casual, dismissive. Yeah, I had to move some things around. Just borrowed it for a stock opportunity. Great timing, actually. Markets are prime for investment. The room tilts slightly. I grip the edge of my desk to steady myself. You borrowed $53,000 without telling me? Listen, honey, it's not a big deal, he says. You're smart, you'll figure it out. Take a semester off, get one of those modeling jobs they're always offering you. You don't need to worry about this. The dismissal in his voice ignites something inside me, burning through the shock. That money was for my education, I say, my voice unrecognizable even to myself. Grandma and Grandpa set it up specifically for college. You can't just take it. Melanie, he sighs, as if I'm a child who doesn't understand basic arithmetic. Family helps family. This is a fantastic opportunity that will benefit all of us. I close my eyes, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity the neighborhood barbecues where my father held court, our modest colonial home in Columbus that he took credit for maintaining. In reality, it was my mother Helen who preserved our respectable facade, working herself to exhaustion with double shifts as a cashier at Robertson's Grocery and nights waiting tables at Finley's Diner, all while Gregory Wilson played the role of devoted, family man, community leader, PTA treasurer. The role. It was always just a role. Dad, I need that money back. Now. I have tuition due in 3 weeks. Don't be so dramatic, he snaps, his patience clearly wearing thin. You're 24 years old. Time to stand on your own 2 feet instead of expecting handouts. My laugh sounds hollow. Handouts? That was my money. Legally my money. Look, I've got a meeting. We'll talk later. The line goes dead. I stare at my phone in disbelief, my hand trembling so violently now that I nearly drop it. I take 3 deep breaths before calling him back. He answers on the 4th ring, annoyance evident. What, Melanie? You need to put that money back. Today. My voice sounds stronger now, fueled by rising anger. Family matters more than money, he replies, his tone hardening. Maybe it's time you quit wasting your time with school anyway. With your looks, you could be making real money modeling. Use what God gave you instead of racking up more student debt. The suggestion lands like a slap. 4 years of architectural studies, Dean's List achievements, a portfolio that already impressed 2 firms, reduced to how I might look in front of a camera. I'm not quitting school, I tell him, tears threatening but held firmly in check. And I'm not using my looks instead of my brain. I need my money back. I'm hanging up now, he says coldly. Call me when you're thinking more clearly about what's important. The line goes silent again. This time, I don't call back. Instead, I open my banking app and request all statements from the past year. Within minutes, they load on my screen, and the systematic betrayal reveals itself in black and white. January 3rd, withdrawal, $2,500. January 17th, withdrawal, $3,000. February 2nd, withdrawal, $2,500. The pattern continues, small enough withdrawals to avoid triggering alerts, spaced carefully over 8 weeks, calculated, deliberate. The final withdrawal, $3,000 on March 28th, emptied the account completely. My research takes me deeper, to financial websites explaining Utama accounts. The Uniform Transfers to Minors Act funds should have transferred completely to my control at age 21. For 3 years he's maintained illegal access, feeding me the story that his name needed to remain on the account for tax purposes. The room feels suddenly smaller, the walls closing in as I recognize the magnitude of his deception. The man who lectured me about responsibility and integrity since childhood had been systematically stealing from me, his own daughter. The trust between us, already fragile from years of broken promises, doesn't just crack, it shatters completely. I wipe a single tear from my cheek and open my laptop again. This betrayal cannot stand. Not anymore. I have final exams in 2 weeks, an internship interview the week after, and absolutely no safety net. But I have something my father clearly doesn't count on, the truth, documented in black and white, and a determination that suddenly burns hotter than any fear. Have you ever discovered someone you trusted completely was deceiving you? How did your body react in that moment? The next day, the bus from Boston to Columbus takes nearly 15 hours. I spend most of it staring at farmland and small towns through a smudged window, rehearsing conversations in my head that I doubt will ever happen. What do you say to a father who stole your future? I arrive at the Greyhound station just after 6 in the evening. No one's waiting for me. I didn't tell them exactly when I'd arrive. Partly because bus schedules are unreliable, but mostly because I wanted these first hours back in Columbus to be mine alone. The familiar weight of Ohio summer humidity wraps around me as I walk the 12 blocks to our modest colonial in Bexley. Each step feels heavier than the last. My phone buzzes with a text from Mom, dinner at 7. Your favorite lasagna. The house looks smaller somehow, the blue shutters faded from years of harsh Midwestern weather. I pause at the end of our concrete walkway, studying the trimmed hedges and the ceramic birdbath Mom bought at a garage sale 10 years ago. The perfect picture of middle-class respectability. What a lie. Dad's silver Buick sits in the driveway, gleaming under the early evening sun. He must have washed it this weekend, always keeping up appearances. Mom answers the door before I can use my key, pulling me into a hug that smells like tomato sauce and the lavender lotion she's used since I was little. There's my college girl, she says, her smile genuine but her eyes tired. So tired. She's coming off a morning shift at Robertson's, and I know she'll be heading to Finley's Diner by 9 tonight. Your father's in the dining room setting the table. I force a smile. Great. Dad stands taller when I enter, his arms outstretched for a hug I reluctantly step into. Melanie, look at you. Boston's turned you into a real sophisticated lady. I pull away quickly. It's only been a semester since Christmas, Dad. Well, you look different. He gestures to the table where 3 plates await. Your mother's outdone herself with dinner. I watch him carefully, searching for signs of guilt or shame. There aren't any. Instead, he pulls out my chair with a flourish, just like he's done since I was old enough to sit at the adult table. The perfect father act. During dinner, Mom asks about finals and my internship interview. I answer mechanically while studying Dad as he cuts his lasagna into precise squares, occasionally dabbing his mouth with a napkin. He looks exactly the same, confident, collected. The respected office administrator, PTA treasurer, neighborhood barbecue host. Financial responsibility is what separates successful people from failures, he announces halfway through dinner, unprompted. I was just telling your mother, with inflation these days, you need to be extra careful with your money. The lasagna turns to ash in my mouth. I set my fork down carefully. Is that right? I manage. Absolutely. I've been reading about sound investment strategies. The key is knowing when to seize opportunities. Mom nods, too exhausted to recognize the irony. I bite my tongue until I taste blood. After dinner, Dad announces he has a work meeting and disappears. Mom loads the dishwasher despite my protests that she should rest before her next shift. I'll just lie down for an hour, she promises, her shoulders slumped with fatigue. There's pie in the fridge if you want dessert later. Once she's upstairs, I wait 15 minutes, listening to the house settle around me. Then I move silently to Dad's office off the living room. The door isn't locked, why would it be? In this house, Dad's word has always been law. His space is respected without question, until now. The room smells of his sandalwood aftershave. A Columbus Dispatch lies folded on his desk next to a mug that reads World's Greatest Dad. I start with the desk drawers, nothing but office supplies and old checkbooks. The file cabinet reveals tax returns, warranty information, and insurance policies, all meticulously organized. I'm beginning to think I've made a mistake when I spot his navy jacket hanging on the back of the door. My fingers shake slightly as I reach into the pockets. Right pocket, car keys, a half roll of mints. Left pocket, folded papers, several slips. My heart pounds as I flatten them on the desk. Casino chip receipts from River West Casino, one for $500, another for $1,000, a third for $2,500. All dated within the past month. The truth hits me like a physical blow. He didn't invest my college fund in stocks. He gambled it away. I sink into his desk chair, documents spread before me. With newfound determination, I turn to his computer. The password takes 3 tries. My birth date, Mom's birth date, finally their anniversary, and I'm in. His browser history has been cleared, but his email remains logged in. I search for River West and find promotional offers, VIP invitations, special events, dozens of them, going back months. The printer in the corner whirs to life as I print select emails. Then I find his credit card statement in a folder marked Finances Personal. My hands grow cold as I scan the transactions. ATM withdrawal, River West Casino, $300. ATM withdrawal, River West Casino, $500. ATM withdrawal, River West Casino, $750. The pattern stretches back page after page. I print these too. In his wallet, tucked in a hidden compartment behind his driver's license, I find a plastic card with gold lettering, River West Casino, Diamond Club member, the highest tier of their loyalty program. The sound of footsteps on the stairs sends me into frantic motion. I slip everything back where I found it, except the papers I've printed, which I fold and tuck into my pocket. I've just closed the browser window when Mom appears in the doorway. "Thought you might like some tea," she says, holding out a steaming mug. Her hands are red and cracked around the knuckles, nails cut short for practical reasons. Working hands, honest hands. "Thanks, Mom." I take the mug, guilt and rage warring inside me. "Everything okay? You've seemed quiet tonight." I force a smile. "Just tired from the trip." She nods, accepting this simple explanation because that's who she is. Trusting, never looking for deception. I should start getting ready for my shift. The front door opens before she can leave, and Dad's voice booms through the house. "Helen, is there any of that lasagna left?" "In the fridge, Gregory," she calls back. He appears in the doorway moments later, stopping short when he sees me at his desk. His eyes narrow slightly, then reset to their normal jovial expression. "Studying in my office? The lighting's better in here than the living room, isn't it?" "I was just checking email," I lie, watching his face carefully. His eyes flick to the computer screen, then to the desk surface. "Find everything you need?" "Actually, yes," I say, holding his gaze. "I found exactly what I was looking for." Something shifts in his expression, so subtle an observer less motivated than me might miss it. Weariness, calculation. "Good to hear," he says, his voice carefully casual. He turns to Mom. "You heading to work soon? Want me to warm up the car?" "I've got time," she says. Melanie and I were just chatting. Dad's phone buzzes. He glances at it, then back at us. "I need to take this. Work stuff." He steps into the hallway, closing the door behind him. Mom sighs. "Always working, that one. I don't know how he keeps up the pace." I take a sip of tea to keep from telling her exactly how he spends his working hours. Not yet. Not until I'm sure. When she leaves to change for her shift, I pull out my phone and text Aunt Alicia, "Need to talk. Legal question. Can you video call tomorrow at 2? Her response comes quickly, of course. "Everything okay?" I stare at the cracked ceiling of my childhood bedroom, the weight of those casino receipts burning in my pocket. "No," I text back, "but it will be." Later that night, I'm reading in bed when Dad knocks on my door. Without waiting for an answer, he pushes it open, leaning against the frame with arms crossed. "I noticed you were in my office earlier," he says, voice low, looking through my things. I set my book down. I found the casino receipts. A flash of anger crosses his face before he composes himself. "Those weren't mine. I was holding them for a CO worker." "Really? And the Diamond Club membership card? The ATM withdrawals? The VIP emails? All for a CO worker?" "You had no right to go through my personal items," he snaps, defensive now. "What I do with my money is my business." "It wasn't your money," I say, voice shaking with rage. "It was mine. My college fund that Grandma and Grandpa set up. The one you emptied for your gambling addiction. Keep your voice down," he hisses, glancing toward the hallway. "Your mother doesn't need to hear your wild accusations." "Wild accusations? I have proof, Dad. printed copies of everything. Something dangerous flickers in his eyes. "You're making a mistake, Melanie." "No," I reply, my voice steady now. "The mistake was trusting you with my future." He stares at me for a long moment, then leaves without another word, closing the door firmly behind him. I wait until his footsteps fade before pulling out my phone again. I text Aunt Alicia, change of plans. "Need to make it a 3-way call with Mom, and I need you to bring everything you know about UTMA laws." I spend the night organizing the evidence into a clear timeline: the betrayal, the systematic theft, the deliberate deception. Tomorrow, the 3 of us will talk, and my father's years of lies will finally come to light. Would you confront a family member who stole from you, or try to preserve family peace? What would be at stake for you? 2 days later, the fluorescent lights of Aunt Alicia's law office cast harsh shadows across stacks of documents. Her normally tidy desk has transformed into command central, legal pads covered with notes, tabs marking critical pages and financial records. Her fingers fly over the keyboard, punctuating each sentence with a forceful tap. "The custodial breach is clear-cut," she mutters, not looking up as I enter with 2 coffee cups. What Gregory did wasn't just morally wrong, it was illegal. I set her coffee beside her keyboard, black with 1 sugar, just as she's taken it since law school. The scent of fresh coffee mingles with the sterile office air. Through the window behind her, Columbus stretches gray and overcast, matching my mood. "Will it hold up?" I ask, my voice steadier than the trembling cup in my hand. Dad's always been good at talking his way out of trouble. Alicia finally looks up, her eyes, so much like my mother's, narrowing with determination. "Charm doesn't work in court, honey. Documentation does. Numbers tell the truth when people won't." She swivels her monitor to show me a formal letter, the language cold and precise. The words "demand for immediate restitution" and "breach of fiduciary duty" jump from the page. "This goes out today, certified mail," she says, handing me a copy. "No more talking, no more chances. We've moved beyond that." I nod, running my finger along the edge of the paper. "How's Mom doing with her attorney?" "Linda's the best divorce lawyer in the state," Alicia replies. "Your mother brought 20 years of financial records." A small, fierce smile crosses her face. Helen Wilson may have been quiet all these years, but she kept receipts, literal and figurative. That evening, Alicia's kitchen transforms into our war room. The oak table where I've eaten countless holiday dinners now holds legal documents, bank statements, and 3 mugs of tea. Mom sits across from me, her waitress uniform exchanged for a simple blouse, her hands finally still after a day without serving others. "I found these in the attic," Mom says, pushing a shoebox toward me. "Inside are faded bank statements from before I was born. Your father's gambling isn't new. I thought he'd stopped when we had you." Aunt Alicia spreads the papers in chronological order. This establishes pattern. It matters. It matters. I watch my mother's face, the resignation there slowly hardening into something else, determination, maybe, or anger finally allowed to surface after years of suppression. "I worked double shifts for 20 years, Mom says quietly. "I thought I was helping build something, our home, your education." Her voice catches. "All while he was—" She doesn't finish. Alicia reaches across the table, covering Mom's hand with hers. Being family doesn't mean escaping accountability. Mom nods, shoulders straightening. "No, it doesn't." 2 days later, Dad receives Aunt Alicia's letter at Midwest Insurance Associates, where he's managed the office for 15 years. I wasn't there to see his face, but his reaction arrives in my voicemail within hours. "Melanie, this is ridiculous," his voice strained, none of the usual confidence. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Call me. We need to talk about this legal nonsense." I don't call back. The next message comes that night. "This is your father. I raised you better than this. I only borrowed that money for our family. Everything I've ever done was for this family." Call me. The third message arrives at midnight, his voice slurred and angry. "You think you can threaten me with lawyers? I'm your father. I changed your diapers. I drove you to school. I supported your ridiculous architecture dreams when you could have done something practical. This is how you repay me, by humiliating me?" I play the messages for Mom and Alicia the next morning. Mom's face pales, then flushes with anger. "Those dreams weren't ridiculous," she says. "You were drawing buildings before you could write your name." That afternoon, my phone rings with Cousin Margot's number. "Your dad called us," she says without preamble. "He says you're trying to ruin him over some misunderstanding about college money." "What did you tell him?" I ask, pulse quickening. "That he should pay you back what he took." Margot's voice hardens. Then he said you were being dramatic and ungrateful, that you've always been his difficult child. That's when I hit record on my phone. The recording she sends captures my father's desperate lies, each one more elaborate than the last. How I'd agreed to the loan, how I'd spent the money myself and was blaming him, how my mother had mental problems and couldn't be trusted. That night, Mom calls me after her shift at Finley's diner, her voice strange, hollow yet somehow stronger. I broke down tonight, she says, right in the middle of serving table 12 their meatloaf special. Mom, I'm so sorry, don't be. Something changed. She pauses. Brenda from the kitchen sat me down in the break room. Then Loretta joined us, then Mike from the grill. They've seen it all these years, how tired I was, how your father never came to my workplace events but expected me at all of his, how he'd drop by to borrow cash from my tips. I hear a soft tinkling sound through the phone. What was that? I ask. My wedding ring, she answers. I just took it off. The barest hint of wonder colors her voice. 26 years, and it slides right off like it was never meant to stay. I press my hand against my mouth, tears threatening. I'm wiping tables right now. She continues matter-of-factly, with bare hands. Do you know how strange that feels? Like I've been wearing invisible gloves all these years. The next morning, Dad finds himself locked out of the family home. Mom changed the locks overnight with help from Mike from the diner. His keycards to their joint accounts no longer work. Alicia made sure of that as soon as the demand letter went out. He's been calling neighbors. Mom tells me during our morning check-in, telling them I'm having a breakdown, that you've turned against him. Does anyone believe him? Martha next door told him she'd seen his car at River West Casino enough times to know who was having problems. Mom's laugh holds no humor. People aren't as blind as we thought. Dad's carefully constructed image is crumbling. The PTA treasurer who gave stern lectures about fiscal responsibility, the neighborhood barbecue host who complained about those people who can't manage money, the father who taught me to balance a checkbook at 12, all while systematically stealing from his own daughter's future. You're going back to Boston tomorrow, Aunt Alicia tells me that evening, passing me a printout of my flight confirmation. I'll handle things here. But the legal proceedings will take months. You need to focus on finishing your degree. Her expression softens slightly. That's the best revenge, you know, succeeding despite him. I look at the flight information, then at my mother sitting quietly at the kitchen table, her bare ring finger occasionally touched by her opposite hand as if confirming its freedom. I can't afford to finish without that money, I say. You'll get it back, Alicia says with iron certainty. Every penny plus interest. I've already filed the emergency injunction. Mom looks up. And I'm selling the dining room set. Your father insisted we couldn't live without it. It should cover your books for next semester. I stare at these two women, their faces so similar yet marked by different lives. One who fought openly, one who endured quietly, both now refusing to bend. Something unfamiliar unfurls in my chest, bigger than determination. The certainty that comes from knowing I'm not fighting alone. Okay, I say, straightening my shoulders. I'll finish my degree, and Dad will face consequences for once in his life. Mom nods, a single tear tracking down her cheek. Some things matter more than peace, honey. Some fights are worth having. Outside, Columbus prepares for evening, streetlights flickering to life one by one. Tomorrow I'll be back in Boston. Back to models and blueprints and the future I refuse to surrender. Behind me will be these women, my real foundation, stronger than any architecture I'll ever design. What price would you put on trust and honesty in your family? Is there a dollar amount that's too small to fight for when principles are at stake? A month later, the Ohio courthouse looms before me, all sandstone and solemnity. My fingers tremble slightly as I smooth my charcoal pencil skirt, professional armor against the betrayal awaiting inside. Aunt Alicia walks beside me, briefcase swinging with purposeful rhythm, her heels clicking a confident beat against the marble steps. Ready? She asks, her hand warm on my shoulder. I nod, not trusting my voice. Through the heavy wooden doors, past security, down a corridor that smells of furniture polish and faded dreams, I spot him immediately. Dad sits with his attorney, head bent in conversation, wearing his Sunday suit, the one reserved for impressing people, and his practiced expression of concerned fatherhood, the mask I once believed without question. Our eyes lock across the room, his flash with momentary panic before settling into righteous indignation. All rise, the bailiff calls, and we stand as Judge Harriman enters, silver hair in a practical bob, reading glasses perched on her nose. Wilson versus Wilson, she announces, scanning the documents. Custodial account dispute. Dad's attorney, Mr. Bentley, silver-haired and silver-tongued, rises with theatrical gravity. Your Honor, this is merely a family misunderstanding. My client was acting in what he believed to be the family's best interest during a temporary financial challenge. I swallow hard, tasting bitterness. The word temporary hangs in the air like poison. Aunt Alicia stands, voice cool and precise. Your Honor, this was no misunderstanding. We have evidence of systematic withdrawals over an 8-week period totaling exactly $53,000. This represents clear breach of fiduciary duty under the Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. She methodically presents our documentation. Bank statements, text messages, recorded phone conversations where Dad admits taking the money. With each piece of evidence, Judge Harriman's expression hardens. Mr. Wilson, the judge finally says, peering over her glasses at my father. These withdrawals appear deliberate and calculated. What explanation do you offer the court? Dad rises, straightening his tie, the gesture so familiar it makes my chest ache despite everything. Your Honor, I've always put family first, he begins, voice steady with practiced sincerity. This money was going to be invested for Melanie's future, a better return than just sitting in an account. And where are these investments now, Mr. Wilson? Judge Harriman asks. Dad shifts his weight. There were some unexpected market fluctuations. The judge's eyebrow arches. I see. An hour later, we sit in the settlement conference room. A court mediator presides over our small group, Dad and his attorney on one side, Aunt Alicia and me on the other. I can offer $15,000 now, Dad says, leaning forward. The rest in installments over 5 years. Aunt Alicia doesn't even glance at me before responding. Full repayment plus 5% interest. Non-negotiable. Dad's face flushes. That's unreasonable. I don't have that kind of money. Then wage garnishment is the alternative, the mediator explains, tone neutral but firm. Federal law permits garnishment of up to 25% of disposable earnings until the debt is satisfied. You'll ruin me financially, Dad says, looking directly at me for the first time. His eyes hold genuine fear. The words rise from somewhere deep inside me, quiet but unwavering. Like you tried to ruin my future? He flinches as if I'd slapped him. Later that afternoon, we attend the preliminary hearing for Mom's divorce case in a different courtroom. Dad's face has lost its confident glow, replaced by a grayish pallor as Mom's attorney presents evidence of mortgage fraud and credit cards opened in her name without consent. Mrs. Wilson worked 2 jobs believing her income was supporting her daughter's education, the attorney states. Instead, Mr. Wilson was systematically diverting funds to gambling activities while creating unauthorized debt in his wife's name. Dad's desperate Helen knew everything falls flat as years of falsified financial statements are displayed. The judge doesn't bother hiding his disgust. This court finds clear evidence of financial misconduct. Back in the first courtroom, Judge Harriman approves our settlement terms with brisk efficiency. Full repayment of $53,000 plus 5% interest. Direct wage assignment from Dad's paycheck. Federal garnishment of 25% of his disposable income until the debt is paid. The court finds the defendant in clear breach of fiduciary duty, she states. This settlement represents the minimum consequence for such violation of trust. I watch Dad's face as reality crashes through his carefully constructed defenses, mouth open slightly, eyes wide with genuine shock. He truly believed his charm would save him, as it always had. Outside on the courthouse steps, spring sunshine warms my face but brings no joy. I've won, but victory tastes hollow. Aunt Alicia squeezes my hand. You did the right thing, she says quietly. I nod, watching Dad emerge from the building, shoulders hunched, attorney whispering urgently beside him. He looks older suddenly, diminished. I know, I reply, turning away. But doing the right thing still hurts. 4 crimson tickets lie flat on my kitchen table in Boston, each representing a seat at tomorrow's Boston University Architecture School graduation. I run my finger along the embossed university seal, feeling the weight of my decision with each pass. 4 tickets, I whisper to my empty apartment. The late afternoon sun filters through my blinds, casting stripes across the neatly arranged rectangles. I've already decided who deserves to witness this moment I fought so hard to reach: Mom, Aunt Alicia, and my 2 closest friends, Sophia and Trevor, not Gregory Wilson, not the man who almost destroyed this future. My phone buzzes. Dad's fifth message today. When should I book my flight? Need to request time off work. The casual presumption ignites familiar heat in my chest. I take a deep breath and type, I only have 4 tickets. I've allocated them to Mom, Aunt Alicia, Sophia, and Trevor. I won't be able to accommodate you at the ceremony. His response is almost instant. This is ridiculous. I'm your father, of course I'll be there. I place my phone screen down on the table, hand trembling slightly. 6 months since the court order, 6 months of wage garnishment payments trickling into my account, 6 months of his alternating guilt trips and demands for gratitude because he's making things right. My phone lights up again with multiple messages. You wouldn't even have a graduation without me. I worked for years to support your education. What will people think when your father isn't there? The last one almost makes me laugh. What would people think if they knew the truth? I silence my phone and return to packing my cap and gown. The morning of graduation dawns bright and clear. Boston sparkles beneath an impossibly blue May sky as Mom and Aunt Alicia arrive at my apartment with coffee and pastries. Oh, honey, look at you, Mom says, eyes already welling with tears. She looks different now, lighter, despite the new wrinkles around her eyes. The divorce was finalized last month and freedom suits her. Stop it, Helen, you'll make your makeup run, Aunt Alicia teases gently, handing me a garment bag. Your robe might wrinkle. Let me hang this up. In my room, Mom sits me at the vanity and removes a small velvet box from her purse. This was your grandmother's, she says, opening it to reveal a delicate silver pendant shaped like an architect's compass. She wore it when she worked as a draftsman in the 60s. Not many women did that work back then. I touched the pendant gently. I didn't know she was in architecture. She wasn't allowed to advance, Mom says, clasping it around my neck, but she'd be so proud of where you've gone with your talent. The pendant rests cool against my skin as tears threaten. I hug her tightly. Thank you, for everything. A knock announces Sophia and Trevor, arms loaded with flowers and a handmade banner, Melanie Wilson, architect extraordinaire. The procession feels surreal, hundreds of us in identical robes marching across the quad. Parents and friends line the walkways, snapping photos. I scan the crowd and spot my 4 true supporters beaming with pride. Then I see him, Gregory Wilson, standing at the entrance to the seating area, clutching an absurdly large bouquet of roses, face tense with determination. My step falters, but the line keeps moving. I watch in horror as he pushes past the usher. That's my daughter, he announces loudly, pointing at me. Melanie Wilson, she only made it because of my sacrifices. Heads turn, whispers ripple. Security approaches. Sir, you need a ticket. I'm her father. I deserve to be here. I paid for all this. Aunt Alicia rises and intercepts him in the aisle. You don't have a ticket. You were expressly not invited. Security takes his arms. He shouts my name as they escort him out, still claiming his rights as a parent. An unexpected sensation washes over me, not crushing embarrassment, but relief. The truth laid bare, no more masks. When they call my name, I walk across the stage head high, diploma in hand, cheers erupting from the 4 people who earned their tickets. For the first time, I realize family isn't defined by obligation or blood. It's built through honesty, respect, and showing up when it matters. Have you ever had to establish a boundary with a loved one who betrayed you? How did it feel in that moment? A month later, candlelight flickers across the faces of my dinner companions at Luciano's, one of Boston's hidden gems. Mom's tired eyes now sparkle with vitality. Aunt Alicia raises her glass of Pinot Noir. To Melanie, who didn't just earn her degree, she fought for her future and won. Jenna and Taylor clink their glasses against mine, their support unwavering through the darkest nights. I never doubted you, Mom says, squeezing my hand, not for 1 second. I have something to say, I announce, raising my glass to the women who became my safety net. Without you, I might have given up. You showed me what real support looks like. Jenna leans forward. Tell them about Westfield and Reed. I blush. I accepted their offer yesterday, junior designer starting next month. The table erupts in cheers, and I signed a lease near the Commons, the one with the perfect breakfast nook for drafting. Mom's expression shifts. Is it affordable? Every penny is mine, I assure her. Your turn, Mom. She straightens, quiet confidence replacing exhaustion. Just a small apartment near Robertson's, but the windows face east, morning sunshine. And one job now, just one. Aunt Alicia lifts her glass again. To new beginnings for both Wilson women. Sunday morning, Mom calls, voice light. We laugh about old memories until she grows quiet. I should have seen the signs years ago, Mel. He fooled us both, Mom. Later, walking through Boston Common, I help a second-year architecture student with her heavy textbooks. That evening, I open a new savings account with triple verification and make my first deposit, each digit representing security I built myself. My phone buzzes. Gregory again. I swipe the message away without reading it and turn to my design sketches for my first professional project. He thought stealing my money would steal my future. Instead, his betrayal made me stronger.